Tonight, we examine a story that could shape our future, a story of power, ambition, and danger in the South China Sea. This is not just a regional dispute, it's a high-stakes drama unfolding on the world stage, with consequences that could ripple far beyond these waters. For years, the US and China have circled each other in these tense waters, both claiming to want peace while preparing for war. Each patrol, each maneuver is a message, sometimes a warning, sometimes a show of strength. The world got a glimpse of what could go wrong just last month when two Chinese naval vessels collided in disputed waters. The incident was sudden, chaotic, and a stark reminder of how quickly things can spiral out of control. This real-world accident sent shockwaves across the globe, highlighting just how crowded and volatile the region has become. Governments scrambled to respond, and analysts warned that the next incident might not end so quietly. A simple mistake, a moment of misjudgment, could ignite a conflict that no one wants but everyone seems to be preparing for. The margin for error is razor thin, and the consequences could be catastrophic. The South China Sea is now a daily stage for warships, fighter jets, and Coast Guard cutters from multiple nations. Each day brings new maneuvers, new risks, and new opportunities for misunderstanding. The US says it's there to protect freedom of navigation. China sees the American presence as a direct challenge to its sovereignty. Both sides are determined, and neither is backing down. This clash of interests has turned the region into one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. Tensions simmer, and the risk of escalation is ever present. The stakes are enormous. Global trade, international law, and the balance of power in the 21st century all hang in the balance. Over a third of the world's shipping passes through these waters, making stability here crucial for everyone. The recent collision is a warning sign, a flashing red light on the world's dashboard. It's a signal that the situation is growing more dangerous by the day. How did we get here? What events and decisions led us to this precarious moment? How close are we to a major conflict between two nuclear-armed powers? The risks are real and the world is watching. Tonight, we search for answers. We dig deeper into the tensions, the history, and the possible futures of the South China Sea. To truly grasp why a naval accident here could have far-reaching consequences, you first need to understand the South China Sea, one of the most strategically important and hotly disputed regions on the planet. This vast expanse of water is bordered by China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. It's not just a regional concern, it's a lifeline for global trade, connecting economies and people across continents. Every year, about one-third of all global shipping, worth trillions of dollars, passes through these waters. Oil, gas, and goods flow through these lanes, making the South China Sea a vital artery for the world economy. Nearly every nation bordering the sea claims a piece of it, but China's claim is by far the largest. The so-called 9-dash line covers nearly 90% of the sea, overlapping with the exclusive economic zones of its neighbors and sparking constant disputes. In 2016, an international tribunal in The Hague ruled that China's sweeping claim had no legal basis under international law. Despite the ruling, China ignored the decision and continued to assert its dominance, increasing its presence and activities in the region. Over the past decade, China has transformed reefs and rocks into artificial islands, essentially military fortresses equipped with runways, radars, and missile systems. These installations are not tourist resorts, they function as unsinkable aircraft carriers, dramatically extending China's military reach far beyond its own coastline. For the United States and its allies, these moves are seen as attempts to control the region, intimidate neighboring countries, and challenge the international order. The U.S. Navy's regular patrols and presence are a direct response, aiming to ensure these vital shipping lanes remain open and free for all nations. The South China Sea has become a major security flashpoint, not just a trade route, with military buildups and close encounters becoming more frequent. Every maneuver here is a test of wills, a high-stakes contest over who will set the rules for this critical part of the world. The consequences extend far beyond the region. The stakes are truly global. That's why the world is watching so closely, aware that what happens here could shape the future of international relations and global stability. On the night of August 15, 2025, two Chinese warships collided during high-stakes nighttime drills near the disputed Spratly Islands, a flashpoint in the South China Sea. The incident happened under the cover of darkness, catching even seasoned observers by surprise. The crash was nothing short of chaotic. Alarms blared, metal screeched and ground together, and both ships suffered significant damage. Crew members scrambled to contain the situation, as confusion and panic spread across the decks. China quickly imposed a strict information blackout, attempting to keep the incident under wraps. But in the age of satellites and global surveillance, images soon surfaced, revealing the aftermath to the world. Military analysts worldwide pored over the satellite images, raising urgent concerns about the Chinese Navy's rapid expansion and increasingly aggressive tactics in contested waters. Experts warn that China's fast-growing Navy may be outpacing its training, leading to risky maneuvers, inexperience, and a higher chance of dangerous mistakes during complex operations. This time the accident was internal, a costly error but one that only involved Chinese vessels. But next time, it could involve a US or Filipino vessel, as these navies often operate in close proximity in these tense waters. A collision between rival navies could easily be mistaken for an intentional attack, triggering immediate retaliation and escalating tensions. In the heat of the moment, a local accident could spiral out of control, turning into a regional crisis, or even a full-scale war, within just a few hours. The August crash was a wake-up call for the world, showing just how easily things could spin out of control in these contested waters. The world watched as a single mistake threatened to unravel years of fragile peace, highlighting the dangers of miscalculation. The risk is real, and it's growing with every new ship, every new patrol, and every close encounter in these crowded seas. The question now is, what happens next? Will cooler heads prevail, or will another accident push the region past the point of no return? The answer could shape not just the future of the region, but the fate of the world itself. The U.S. Navy responded to the rising tensions with a Freedom of Navigation operation, or FONOP. The USS John S. McCain sailed within 12 nautical miles of a Chinese artificial island, challenging Beijing's claims. The message was clear: these are international waters, and the U.S. will sail here as it chooses. China's reaction was swift: condemnation, warships shadowing the U.S. vessel, and tense radio exchanges. "You are in Chinese territorial waters, leave immediately," came the warning. The U.S. replied, "We are conducting lawful operations in international waters." These encounters are becoming more frequent and aggressive. Chinese ships now cut dangerously close to U.S. vessels, raising the risk of collision. Pentagon officials warn it's only a matter of time before one of these standoffs turns into an accident. The August crash between Chinese ships has only heightened these fears. The next incident could involve the U.S. Navy. Each operation is a direct challenge to Beijing's authority. The stakes are rising with every maneuver. The world is watching and waiting. The margin for error is shrinking. Today's tensions are the result of decades of near misses and dangerous encounters. In 2001, a U.S. surveillance plane collided with a Chinese fighter jet. The American crew was detained for 11 days, sparking a major diplomatic crisis. Since then, the list of close calls has grown. In 2009, Chinese ships harassed a U.S. surveillance vessel, getting dangerously close. In 2013, a Chinese warship forced a U.S. cruiser to take evasive action to avoid collision. Each incident adds mistrust and suspicion, escalating the risk. As China's military grows more powerful, its forces are more willing to challenge the U.S. directly. Disaster has been narrowly averted by the professionalism of sailors and pilots, not by policy. But as encounters become more frequent and aggressive, the odds of a miscalculation rise. The August 2025 crash is a stark reminder: luck can run out. The next incident could go too far. The history of close calls is a warning. The stakes have never been higher. The world is on edge. How does a crash become a war? It's called the escalation ladder. Imagine a Chinese warship collides with a U.S. destroyer. There are casualties. The American captain, fearing attack, fires back. In moments, a peacetime accident becomes a naval battle. News races to Washington and Beijing. National pride is at stake. Leaders feel pressure to respond. China could launch missiles from its island bases. The U.S. might strike back to protect its forces. Suddenly, a local incident becomes a regional conflict. The danger is magnified by alliances, like the U.S.-Philippines Defense Treaty. If a Filipino vessel is attacked, the U.S. could be drawn in. Both sides conduct massive military drills, increasing the risk of mistakes. With so many ships and aircraft in close quarters, the potential for disaster is high. On the escalation ladder, a single mistake is the first step toward catastrophe. The risk is real and growing. The world holds its breath. North of the South China Sea lies another flashpoint, Taiwan. Taiwan is a self-governing democracy, but Beijing sees it as a breakaway province and has never ruled out force to reclaim it. China has ramped up military pressure, daily air incursions, massive exercises, and simulated blockades. The US maintains a policy of strategic ambiguity, supplying Taiwan with defensive weapons, but not explicitly promising to defend it. Recently, US officials have signaled stronger support for Taiwan, angering Beijing. China is building up its military to take Taiwan by force if necessary. The US is preparing to stop them. The island is now the single most likely trigger for war between the two superpowers. The standoff is dangerous and growing more volatile. Every move is watched closely. The stakes could not be higher. The world is watching. The South China Sea and Taiwan crises are deeply connected, two fronts in the same geopolitical struggle. China's military bases in the South China Sea would be critical in any conflict over Taiwan, allowing Beijing to strike US bases and block reinforcements. For the US, keeping the South China Sea open is about defending Taiwan and projecting power. Any conflict over Taiwan would spill into the South China Sea, turning it into a war zone. A small incident in one area could trigger escalation in the other. The two flashpoints feed off each other, raising the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. The entire region could be engulfed in conflict with devastating global consequences. The situation is unstable and dangerous. Every move matters. The world is on edge. We stand at a perilous moment. The US-China relationship will define this century. The risk of conflict in the Western Pacific is higher than it's been in decades. War is not inevitable, but it's no longer unthinkable. The path to war is paved with accidents and miscalculations. Once conflict starts, it's hard to stop. The costs would be staggering. The first step to avoiding disaster is clear communication. Military leaders must be able to talk in a crisis. We need rules of the road for encounters at sea and in the air. Both sides must lower the temperature and step back from the brink. The challenge is to find a way for both powers to coexist peacefully. The alternative is a future of constant tension and the ever-present threat of war. The warning signs are clear. The choice is ours, before it's too late.